Hello, fabulous friends and fans. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. And this is a FAQ video, a frequently asked question video. And one of the questions I'm asked most about is the outer planets. People love knowing about the outer planets and want to know about them. And one of the reasons is because when an outer planet comes along and visits your chart, when you have an outer planet transit, you feel it. Like that will change you like nothing will. An outer planet transit to a personal chart will help you go through a transformation of one kind or another. But the outer planets can be used in all kinds of ways, right? There's the transits, there is the natal placements as well. And so with this video, I just wanted to give you a few thoughts of, some quick thoughts, some quick insights on Uranus, because I've been asked about this as well. So Uranus is a planet of profound change that can happen in an instant. It's a planet of independence and rebellion. And it's a planet of going a whole new way, like in a way that we have not known before, whether in our own life or in terms of as a collective when we go through major Uranus transits as a collective. You can also see this when we look at the charts of countries, right? Most countries have a chart, a birth chart, when normally it's like the moment of a signing, when it officially became a country. And when we look at, particularly when Uranus makes an aspect to the chart of a country, it tends to denote a time of some upheaval, okay? So for example, when Uranus was discovered, normally when a planet is discovered, what happens is we kind of look around at what's happening as astrologers, what's happening right around the time that that planet is discovered. And that tells us something about what that planet symbolizes. So when Uranus was discovered, we had the French Revolution, and we also had the American Revolution that took place, the Boston Tea Party that took place, that all happened sort of under the light of, under the guise of this Uranus discovery taking place. And Uranus was discovered, I actually did an episode about this called My Beautiful Bath. You might want to check that out because Uranus was discovered in the city of Bath. That was actually one of the first episodes I did as part of Synchronicity WebTV way back in the day, back in 2011, I believe it was. And actually what happened was I went to Bath and I went to the exact spot where Uranus was discovered. And I had my own personal kind of revelation, which is what Uranus is. And it led me to realize that I had to do more videos. I wasn't really doing so much videos. I had just a very small handful of videos and people were telling me I had to do them, but I kept getting in my own way. And then I went to where Uranus was discovered and it was like, I got my own revelation, a very Uranian revelation. And the reason it was Uranian is because using new technologies and new platforms, which is part of what Uranus represents, because it's the next thing, right? But also because it's freedom from the known. It's really like being cleared and releasing anything that gets in the way of you really being who you're meant to be, of really being an honest, an authentic version of yourself. And so for me, what was getting in my way was my own, my own stuff, put it that way, right? And I've shared this with you guys a lot over the years. But it really is you guys that have, made me brave and blessed me in a million ways. I'm so grateful for that. But it is Uranus ultimately that was part of saying the past doesn't matter, right? Whatever messages you're carrying, whatever burdens you're carrying, they don't matter as much as being an authentic version, not only of who you are today, but moving into the future is what this is about. And so new technologies tend to be a part of it. And that was and is to a certain extent still the internet. Like some people consider the internet very Uranian. And I think in some sense it is, but it's sort of increasingly becoming mercurial. And what I mean by that is as the internet becomes, and really kind of is, right, becomes more of of a thing that's utilized regularly. That's sort of like part and parcel with our day and our work. It's part of our routines. It's just part of the way things are, how we communicate. The internet is becoming and has become more and more that. And that is why Mercury starts ruling the internet more and more, because Mercury is the means with which we communicate and connect with other people, whether that's our own voice or it's telephones or text messages. When telephones are first launched, right? When television, let's start with television. Television first comes out. When television first becomes a thing, it's Uranus. When television starts entering people's homes, it's Uranus. But today, television is not Uranus. Television is very much, depending on how you look at it, because it's entertainment, it's become more of a fifth house kind of thing because it's associated with entertainment and leisure. I think of it more as a fifth house kind of thing. When it's a means of, delivering the news, right? A means of communication, then it can be third house, it can be Mercury as well. Moving parts, electronics, that's all very Mercury. But as a source of entertainment and leisure, it becomes divided, right? The fifth house is part of that. So Uranus is, it can utilize the internet when it becomes like sort of an independent endeavor, like websites, advancing your business in particular. Like if you look at your business chart or your own chart, right? Uranus is coming along. And if I see a strong Uranus presence coming along, I'm going to say, start doing things more independently, right? Think about what you can do yourself to grow your business, to grow your vision, to grow your aims. I would say think about incorporating new technologies. If you don't have an online presence already, I would say incorporate an online presence and strongly, and utilize the latest techniques. Make it look like the next thing, right? Don't just use templates that make it look like your website's 10 years old. Like that's how far back we can go now, right? We can say like websites that look 10 years old, websites that look 15 years old. When Uranus comes along, that's not going to cut it. That's not going to do. You want to have a website that looks polished, that looks like it's utilizing fonts that are modern, that's utilizing like certain effects and certain technologies and certain templates that are much more modern, much more cutting edge. These are the types of things that I would encourage people to utilize. Have an online presence, have a social media presence. Uranus is very social media. Again, becoming more and more a thing of Mercury, but it really was with Neptune in the sign of Aquarius that social media, like that became the symbol of social media, was Neptune in the sign of Aquarius, because it was that Neptune, and that Aquarian energy is very social. And Neptune just becomes this pervasive, this energy that just connects everyone with everything. It's an energy of communion, which is what the internet became more and more as Neptune moved through the sign of Aquarius. By the time we got to the end of that cycle, by the time we got to like the early part of this decade, really, it was social media that became this omnipresent kind of force in the world, and that is attributed normally to Neptune moving through Aquarius. However, Uranus made the internet possible, right? Uranus allows these businesses, social media or otherwise, to continue to update what they're doing so that they're continuing to make sure that even when people don't like it, right? Not everyone likes revolution. Not everyone likes change, but Uranus is change. And I know, for example, Facebook, right? It has a very strong Aquarian, Uranian kind of signature to it, with that Neptune very strong as well, an Aquarius kind of signature to it. When I think about Facebook, right? Sometimes Facebook make these changes, everybody complains, but ultimately once we start to adopt them, you could start to see how, okay, yeah, in a way this is better. I mean, that's part of why I gotta say, like with MySpace, for example, MySpace didn't continually evolve the way that Facebook did. Like Facebook sort of took it on as part of their character to continue to evolve, and so they've managed to continue to be relevant to people. People don't get bored, that's for sure, with the way that Facebook keeps making certain changes. So with Uranus in a personal life, in business, utilizing new technologies as part of maximizing your influence, your effect is part of the picture. Utilizing also a sense of not only new technologies, but independence, digital nomads, right? Being able to do things more on your own, being able to do things more online, reaching people energetically, digitally. The digital is very, very Uranian. I think of, when I hear digital, I think Uranus. And also finding new and innovative ways to reach people on the cutting edge. Like, not necessarily, it might be innovative for your business, but well established. Like, for example, if your business has never used a telephone, it might be innovative for you to use the telephone, but that's not a very Uranian thing to do. That's like, I would think that you're having a Saturn transit. Again, if we're using the model of a business, because this is specifically the area that I've been asked about. If you're using the model of a business, I think if you've never used a telephone and all of a sudden start using a telephone, I'm going to look at your chart and think that something must be happening with Saturn and Mercury as well. But it must be some Saturn, Mercury stuff happening because you're going traditional, right? You're going back to the old school way of doing things. So that's Saturn. But when it's Uranus, if you have some Uranian stuff happening in your chart, I'm thinking you're redoing your website. You're using whole new templates that are clean and modern and sort of very like cutting edge. You're utilizing graphics that, you know, aren't that well used, that maybe are very brand new effects. I'm thinking about how transitions can look very up to date as well. I'm thinking about the images. You're probably getting new images that look very polished as well, that look very interesting, that have sort of an eccentric quality to them. I'm thinking about how you're going to be having images online or otherwise that have a lot of brightness to them, that have a lot of light to them, that utilize a lot of whites or very electric kind of colors. And I don't, well, yeah, you could say neon, right? It's kind of out there. But if you're utilizing like stuff just because it's funky, it's different than when it looks like electric, right? It looks like it's on to the next thing. It looks modern. These are all words for Uranus. And the internet, I gotta say, I think is more and more part of that. And for business in particular. If you were to tell me that, oh, I want to put ads on television, I'm thinking Mercury, I'm thinking Saturn. I'm thinking the sun as well, some elements going on there. Those three planets most strongly would be speaking to, if you haven't done television, you want to start doing television, some of that energy must be kicking up. But if you've got a strong Uranus signature, I'm thinking online show. I'm thinking, you know, going by inspiration, not being necessarily tied to a schedule. And more now, like as we are moving towards the future, you see how less and less people have cable, for example, right? Less and less people wanting cable because they want sort of everything on demand in their own way. Netflix is very Uranian in some ways, because it is individualized. It's very individual. It's very personal. It's very on demand. It's very all or nothing, right? You're going to binge watch. It's all or nothing. And it's so personalized and it's all online, available from anywhere. It's really up to you. You can use 10 different devices. I think it's actually like 4, but I figured out that it's actually like 4 simultaneously. So you could have 4 things going with Netflix at any given time, but technically you could watch it on like a whole bunch of different devices, but not necessarily at the same time. But that's all very Uranian is what I'm saying. So if you had a strong Uranus transit, you said to me, I want to do, you know, television, I would say to you, why don't you market it towards services like Netflix, right? Or market it, do a show for YouTube. That's what I tend to see. That's going to be part of my suggestions when I see somebody having a strong Uranus transit and they're asking me about what to do next for their career, for their work. These are the types of suggestions. These are the types of archetypes that are going to come up. Do what's next. Do what allows the user to go by their own timetable, to do their own individual thing, and do what ultimately allows you to trust your inspiration so that you get it done on your own timetable, and you can update it anytime. You can change it anytime. If you have a show on television, once you send it to that show, it becomes more challenging to try and make last minute little tweaks and changes. Most of the time, you finish that show, you send it off, and then the station, they do what they need to do with it. What you needed to do before you sent it, right? That's very Saturnian. That's very mercurial as well. But with a strong Uranus signature, what you want to do is be able to have that inspiration, be able to change things, even in the middle of it, to be able to change things. It's all utilizing that Uranian vibe, and especially when you're trying to utilize it to your success, think about doing something that people can individualize to themselves and also can access whenever they want, but also in some way expresses something that is all you, that is really about you. Because ultimately what Uranus says is be yourself, because no one else can be you. And that way you become who it is that you're truly meant to be. That's what Uranus helps us with. That's how Uranus blesses us, along with a million different ways, allows us to release what doesn't matter and step into a bold, beautiful, authentic future. I will stop there with that very quick touching on Uranus in a chart by transit or otherwise. Uranus is awesome. You definitely see that. And I've seen it as a strong signature in astrologers as well, because you got to be an eccentric person to say, okay, I'm going to do this thing that maybe not a lot of people are doing and that some people really don't understand. They think it's really, really out there. Even if you know that's not true, which I don't think that's true. And even though things are changing, because it's the future, more of us are moving into the future. I think astrology is part of the future. And I love that astrology is part of the future. So astrology can also be seen as very Uranian. And at the same time, a lot of astrologers consider what they do very mercurial, because they're being very technical about it. They're utilizing these different techniques and calculations and mathematics, all of that very mercurial as well. So again, depending on how you approach your practice as an astrologer will depend on what part of astrology, what energy of astrology you end up tapping into and manifesting and being a part of more and more as well. Okay, I will stop there. Thank you so much again for this moment with you. I'm so grateful for it. Again, please keep all those questions coming. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com, and the YouTube comments as well. Until we connect again, take care. Visit Amazon.com to learn about my book, Astrology, realized in English and Spanish, and shop my website, NadiyaShah.com, for exclusive The Universe is Wise and Loving merchandise and my signature jewelry line, Astro Fabulous Jewelry. Enjoy.